for having me, and I'll be honest, we don't get many ovations, so can we have one more, please? Well, thank you. And one more thing I have to ask is that once we leave this room, there's no more talk about those happy dollars. Please, Patrick, if they found out I was involved with happy dollars at a football event, I might not make my 7th season. But a couple of things. I'm Paul King. I'm number 121 in the NFL. I am going on my 7th season on the field, and I'm glad to be here today. I've got a few notes. Jim and Val, great job. And I was thinking, as you were saying, Jim did the male part and Val did the female part. I'm one of 119 male on-field officials in the NFL. And this season we'll have one female official. She'll be starting this coming season, Sarah Thomas. So she's worked her way through the ranks and earned every bit of it. So we have 120 officials, 119 males. I hope you weren't questioning that part of me. Bob, thank you for saying the prayer, and I hope everybody is as receptive. So as I said, I'm starting my 7th season in the NFL. Prior to that, it was a long journey. I started officiating football in 1981. My dad was a football official. I injured my knee playing high school football, and the doctor said it was probably better that I didn't play football anymore. So I was in back in 1981, they put you in a fiberglass cast from here to the bottom. And my dad used to take me every Friday night and Saturday in the back seat of the car with my leg out straight, and I'd go watch him officiate football, and I developed a passion for that. And I've been officiating since 1981. I've gotten a lot of breaks along the way. I've met a lot of nice people. And I spent 10 years in the Big East Conference, 4 years in NFL Europe, and that was quite an adventure. They'd send us over on a Friday, we'd officiate a game on a Saturday, we'd watch film Saturday night, and then we'd stay over in Europe and drink all week until we did the game the next week. That was kind of tough to explain to the Worcester Public Schools, you know. So I generally arranged my trips around April vacation. So I did that for 4 years. And you'd do 1 or 2 two-week stints over in Europe. I officiated the Arena Football League for 8 years. You talk about pinball. You know, I'm lucky to be alive after that. So, I had pretty much given up on the NFL. I was teaching at Forest Grove Middle School. I still teach there. I've been teaching for 24 years. I teach mathematics. And I'll tell you how I do both of those, which is a story in itself. So I was in class one day. I had refereed the Rose Bowl. I had pretty much given up. I thought I was too old to get in the NFL. I was teaching a class. My daughter Taylor was in the class. Not a good idea, but that's on a different note. The phone rang in my inside line in the room. It was Mike Pereira, who now works for Fox Sports. He was in charge of officiating for the NFL. He said, "Paul, I'd like you to join my staff." I had tears in my eyes. My daughter's sitting in my classroom. She thinks somebody might have died or something. You know, so I get off. I said, "I'd be glad to join your staff." Mike, he said, "Well, let me tell you what happened. Terry McCauley became the supervisor of the Big East. I supported the other gentleman that didn't get the job, but I was quiet about it. Terry McCauley came in. His first year, he took a liking to me. He thought I was a good official." Mike Pereira said, Terry McCauley called and said, "It's a shame this kid isn't a kid." I'm 45 years old, he's calling me a kid. "Isn't in the NFL." So Mike Pereira said, "Oh yeah? You want him on your crew?" Terry McCauley said, "Yes." He said, "You got him, and that's why I'm in the NFL." I spent last weekend down in Providence at the American Conference Clinic, which is taken over for the Big East, which Terry McCauley runs. He's hired me to train his umpires, so I work part-time with his umpires, the younger umpires in the game. But getting back to my daughter, you know, she was the first to learn that her dad had just gotten into the NFL, and it was a pretty special moment how that had happened. So I get in the NFL. I get assigned to the New England Patriots training camp. You get to go to a training camp, and you get to hobnob, you get to have some fun with all the people. I get assigned to the Patriots training camp. And I know you people, how you feel about the Patriots. Bob, whatever I say, don't hold against me. So we go down to Patriots training camp, and Coach Belichick says, "We don't need you tomorrow." I said, "What?" "Oh yeah, he doesn't like anybody around. So there's 5 guys. We go to the movies on a Wednesday afternoon on a day like this and watch The Hangover. Now, can you picture 5 guys walking into movies down at Foxborough Place, down at Gillette Stadium? And so my daughter said, "Dad, did they think you were gay?" I said, "Tell that doesn't." So that's how my season started. Now I get my first preseason game. I'm down. I have the Jets against the Rams. I'm all excited. Well, one of my duties before the game is to go meet the trainers and find out if there's any casts or any special padding that I have to check, and to see the special teams coaches. So I had my mentor, my trainer, Jim Quirk. He takes me to the Jets locker room, and they're all happy to see him. And who's this guy with you? Now I'm wearing a suit. We wear suits when we do this before we change into our uniform. So we get through that, and he said, "Okay, now you go to the Rams room by yourself." He said, "Go right over there." Well, I'm all excited, but I put my head down. I got this badge with my picture on it, my name. I'm Paul King. I'm in the NFL. I'm here. So I show the woman at the door. Now, it doesn't register to me. It's a woman at the door. I kind of put my head down. I'm going to go in the locker room. She said, "Oh, where are you going?" I look. It's the cheerleaders' locker room. I said, "I haven't even gotten on the field yet." And to this day, he won't admit it, and I'm not sure whether I screwed up or he set me up. And I still see him, but I was going into the Jets cheerleaders' room, the first game. So now we get to the first game, and it's a pretty dangerous position. I'm an umpire. I watch for holding by the offense, the center and 2 guards. When I first got in the league, I'd be on the defense 5 yards away from the ball with everything coming at me. So I was doing pretty good. I was doing pretty well. And all of a sudden, the Jets punt. I see the ball going. The next thing I know, I'm flying in the air. I land on my back. I grab my hat. I get back up. I say, "I'm not going out of here." It happened twice. We get in the locker room after the game, and Terry McCauley's my referee, as I said. Mike Pereira says, he was at the game. He said, "Terry, do they punt in the Big East or not? What the hell's he doing out there?" So I managed that. I figured that one out. Since then, they've moved us to the offensive sideline for safety reasons, offensive side of the ball for safety reasons, except for the last 2 or 5 minutes of the game. I guess it's a lot safer then, but, excuse me. So, first season, I'm out there, and Ray Lewis, he's a pretty famous player, he's a pretty intense player on the football field. This guy, Terrell Suggs, he was acting up a little bit, so I said, "Hey Ray, Terrell's getting a little out of hand. You want me to take care of it, or you're going to take care of it?" He never looked at me and he said, "I got you, baby." Never heard a problem from Terrell or Ray the rest of the game. Not a word. "I got you, baby." So 2011, I find out I'm going, Thanksgiving Day, I'm going to Detroit. They play every Thanksgiving Day, 12:30 is the game in Detroit. I happened to go back last year. Well, 2011, Ndamukong Suh for the Lions decides when there's a guy in the ground, he's going to step on his head. So we throw our flags, we throw him off the game. There's a picture, I was a little heavier back then, that's not too flattering of me walking him off the field. So that day, Aaron Rodgers, the quarterback for the Packers, he said, "Hey, good call. You making it home for dinner tonight?" I said, I land about 2:30 in the morning. He said, "I'll be sitting on my couch with my feet up at 5:45 watching the second game." But we do talk to the players, we do mingle. So Ndamukong Suh, he holds this little grudge. I go back. Every game he comes over and he shakes all 6 other guys' hands except for mine. I mean, I'm a big boy, it doesn't matter to me. So finally, 2013 he comes up, and his buddy Willie Young, who invited my referee and myself on a fishing trip down at his boat after the last preseason game, he said, "We got TVs, we got whatever you need, we're going to go fishing, come on down." We said, "No, we got to watch video of the game." He said, I got TVs. I said, no. So 2013, and Damakatsu comes up to me, he says, Willie said you're a nice guy, I should talk to you. I said, well, don't go on what Willie says. He said, no, I think let's let bygones be bygones. And ever since then, he said hello to me, or shook my hand. Now he shakes all 7 hands instead of just 6. Am I doing okay on time?
Yeah.
So, last year they decide they're going to try to put, we have trouble getting defensive holding calls and holding of the linebackers without the umpire in the traditional umpire position. So they decide, we're going to put you, and we're going to try one preseason game, we're going to put you 20 yards downfield, and you're going to watch the center and 2 guards. So I go to the Kansas City Chiefs training camp about a year to the day, give or take two days, and I'm standing out there 25 yards from the line of scrimmage, and I'm watching the center and 2 guards, I'm watching, boom, hit, crack 2 ribs. 5th play, I lasted 5 plays. Well, it was, I got home on Tuesday night, and I did go out and try to do it the next day. They sent me to an MRI place. It was quite an adventure. I had a shadow on my x-ray, so they gave me a CT scan which showed, because at the time they said that could be blood, it might be internal injuries, but everything was ruled out. I was back, I missed 1 game and I was back the 2nd preseason game. They eliminated that position. I came home Tuesday night, I got a call from my union, and they asked if I wanted to pursue a lawsuit because they had told them it was dangerous, which would have meant giving up my career, and I told them, thanks, but no thanks, I'll be back. But I'll tell you, breaking, coughing, sneezing, sleeping, moving, choking, anything, yeah, breathing, hiccup. So this year I go down to Miami, and they're playing Green Bay, my buddy Aaron Rodgers. And if people ask, I think Aaron Rodgers is probably my favorite or most liked guy. He's pretty much even keeled. He doesn't let things bother him too much. So we get down here, and I referee high school basketball in the Worcester area, and Richard Rodgers, who played at St. John's, is now playing for Green Bay. His father coaches the Carolina Panthers. I said, Richard, have you seen your father? He said, no, we're playing them next week. I'm going to see him. I said, oh, that's good. I said, tell him I said hi, I haven't seen him all season. I said, but, what's it matter? You got your uncle over there, Aaron. And Aaron looks at Richard and says, don't talk to him. He's crazy. And Richard said, he used to referee my high school basketball games. And Aaron said, I hope he's better in basketball than he is in football. So it's unbelievable the amount of time you have on the field during those TV timeouts. You're at home, and my dad watches every game on direct TV. I asked him to come down to Foxborough. He said, why would I go there? I can get up, I can go to the bathroom, I can go get a beer, I've got everything right at home. I don't want to go down there and fight the traffic and fight the crowd. So he did come to my first game at Gillette, but he'd rather sit home and watch every game on direct TV. So, as I said, I work with 9 guys, okay? 2 are in the replay booth, 7 of us on the field. We work 20 weekends a year. I teach school as well, as I said, so I'm going to tell you how I handle that. With the crew's like a second family. We spent Thanksgiving together last year in Detroit. We did have Thanksgiving dinner on Wednesday night provided by the Fox broadcast crew, which was quite nice to see all those people in a different light. We all have jobs on a crew. We have a banker, okay? So if we sit to dinner on a Saturday, instead of pulling out our money at the end of the weekend, we get a tab, what do we owe for the weekend? My job is to scout the teams we're going to have on the upcoming week, and I have a charge of transportation. That bus has to be at the hotel to pick us up. We stay at airport hotels, generally. So when we go to New England, we stay at the Hyatt in Boston. And a bus picks us up and drives us to the stadium. Now, on a Sunday, that's not a bad deal. But if you're working a Monday night game in New England or the big Thursday night game, to get from Boston down to Foxborough, that could be a 2.5-hour ride, but that's where we stay. Typical week. So, games generally on Sunday. We work 15 out of 17 weeks. We get 2 bye weeks unless we have to fill in for somebody that's injured. We'll start with Sunday. Sunday's game day. We generally have a little prayer service. Let's talk about a 1 o'clock game, 7 in the morning. Let's go back. We'll start on Sunday. We have a little prayer service. We have breakfast about 7:30. We plan on arriving at the stadium 3 hours before the game. We get to the stadium 3 hours before the game. Like I said, one of my duties is to go visit the coaches and the trainers, special teams coaches and the trainers. Somebody else, I don't know, they do something with the footballs. I'm not sure what they do. We usually walk around the field, we take some pictures, and then it's back in the locker room. 90 minutes before the game, the security comes in and briefs us on if there's any threats, any terrorist threats or anything that we have to be aware of. And they always tell us we're going to meet in the middle of the field. Well, I have not been involved or anything, but I'll tell you one thing. I'm not going to be in the middle of the field to meet with anybody. I'm getting out of there if there's a terrorist threat. And I think most of my crew agrees. So we go out on the field 50 minutes before the game, and I go over and I introduce myself to the center that I'm going to be watching all day, and tell him if they run a hurry-up offense, they want to go quick, I'm going to say, I'm going to let you go as fast as you want, just let me get out of there, and I'll do the best I can for you today. I'll talk to the quarterback and I'll talk to the linebacker. And then I participate in their drills. I'm looking at their feet. If I see a guy with slow feet, I know that somebody's going to get by him and he's going to have to cheat and hold. Okay. We go back in the locker room, come back out. I go to get the home team. And I don't know what happened. Many years ago, somebody put silicone on their jersey so they couldn't touch their jersey. So I get to pat 2 players down from the home team at the beginning of the first half and the beginning of the second half. Well, there's one quarterback in the league. His nose is over by his ear, and every time he comes out, we just pat linemen down, but he's got it that you've got to pat him down. Hey, give me some love, Mr. Roethlisberger. Always, so you kind of pat him down and play his game. Then we go out in the field and we get ready for the kickoff. We officiate the game, and we were talking over here about replay. We love replay because we'd rather get it cleared up during the game as opposed to seeing us on the bloopers after the game or seeing it on Sports Center the next morning, or going to the gym or to school and everybody asking, was that you? Was that you? So the game ends, and I told you I refereed high school basketball games. People are amazed at how fast we shower and get out of the locker room. I've been in an airport at 4:45 from a 1 o'clock game. Once the game ends, it's a race to get to the airport. Most places give us a police escort. We have a mini passenger bus that picks us up, brings us right to the airport if we can get a flight home. So generally, I'm on anytime after 5 hours. So a 1 o'clock game, I can book a flight anytime after 6. But we go right to the airport. They give us a thumb drive with a copy of that game. Generally, on the film, I try to watch, on the plane, all first class arrangements, I try to watch the first half of that plane, what are you talking? I watch the first half of the game on the plane before I get home. Monday, I go to school. When I get there on Tuesday, oftentimes I don't remember what happened on Monday. If I have a game on the West Coast, I take the red eye, I go from Logan Airport. If I have time, I shower at Worcester Fitness and I go to Forest Grove Middle School. If I don't have time, I go to Forest Grove Middle School and I find time to shower when I get there. So I've been in San Diego and flown to LA to get back to Boston at 6 a.m., driven down the right way with the traffic and got into school. Monday night, after school, I go home, I watch the second half of that film. We're critiquing ourselves, because we got other people that are going to do it too. And on Tuesday, we get sort of a report card. They critique all calls we make. If I make a call and it's wrong, I get an incorrect call. That takes 10 points off my grade towards the playoffs. If I didn't see something, that's bad. If I saw something that that I made and it didn't happen, as opposed to a no call. Something happened and I didn't see it. We might get blocked out. We might not see it. No call is -6 points. And you start, and they measure your percentages. So that comes on Tuesday. We get a chance to put in our rebuttal. So Tuesday night, our crew has a conference call, and we're discussing, okay, what are we gonna do? What are we like? Okay, we'll give them that one. You don't wanna fight everyone. And we do make mistakes. I'll be honest. So you decide which one you're gonna fight. Wednesday, we resubmit. We call it the tribunal. They have 8 people. Sometimes they're all in New York, otherwise they're on a video conference. They put up, okay, let's look at all the offensive hold calls. That one we graded no call. That's kind of tough. We're gonna call that one, we're gonna take that one back. And then Wednesday we get our final grades, and it's time to move towards next week. Once we read that Wednesday, there's no more fighting, there's no more, it's over. We got another week to worry about. So we read that on Wednesday. On Wednesday we get a memo with the test for the week and what time the bus will pick us up. I call, confirm the bus picking us up. And then Thursday, I start looking at the 2 teams we're gonna have the next week and cutting and pasting film for the next week. I work on my test for that week. And on Friday, I finish up my test and I kind of relax a little bit. Saturday morning, it's time to get up, head to the airport. Generally, try to be in the city that you're working in 24 hours prior to the game. My referee, Bill Vinovich, is pretty good. I have a 13-year-old son, plays football. If he's playing on a Saturday morning, or one of the other crewmates has somebody playing on a Saturday morning, we'll move our meeting to Saturday night. We generally meet 3 hours on Saturday, looking at the plays that I've picked out on the teams we're scouting, going over the rules test, going over our game from the previous week and what can we do. We got a no call here. How could we fix that next time around? And depending on the time of the meeting, we'll all go to dinner. Some cities we have favorite spots where we go to dinner. There is no alcohol from the time I leave my house, no alcohol from Friday 12 midnight until after the game, after you're off the game site. We get tested 4 times a year for drugs. And that came up a couple of weeks ago. We had our preseason meeting in Dallas where we went over the new rules and we took a test and somebody said, no, they're gonna drug test us. Somebody comes in, they actually come to stand there when you're going to the bathroom. I said, how are they gonna do that with Sarah? Are they gonna, they're gonna hire a woman or just, we think of just about everything. So try to go to bed early on a Saturday night. Like I said, you're usually in an airport Marriott somewhere. Go to bed early and you get up and Sunday starts. Am I all right?
You're doing great, but I think people might want to have some questions.
Yeah.
Okay, one more quick thing and then I'll answer any questions. So, I told you about coming back from my injury in the ribs. So my crew had worked together week 1. They gave us these headphones last year. And you got to kind of be loose and have fun. The O-to-O system. So I'm listening to the earpiece, and I missed the first game, like I said, and I hear gobble gobble, gobble gobble, gobble gobble. I said, Vinny, my earpiece messed up. I might have used different words. He said, what do you mean? I said, I got a turkey. I said, what? I said, gobble, gobble, gobble. He said, that's Phil saying double, double. There's 2 receivers on this side, there's 2 receivers on that side. I said, really? Okay, so about 5 minutes go by and ribbit, ribbit. He said, what are you doing? He said, if he's gonna be a turkey, I'm gonna be a frog. And that's how we started with those things. But yeah, so now we can talk to anybody on the field at any time. Last thing, and then I'll answer any questions. This year they decided to bring us all to New York City for a physical in the weekend in May. So we have to do a stress test, eye test, hearing test, all these tests. I get done first with my stress test. They said, do you want to go to the buffet? I said, a buffet in a doctor's office? 42nd. I sent pictures to my mother of a buffet with salmon, chicken in a doctor's office on 42nd Street. Then we had weighed in, of course, and then they fed us, did my stress test, and then the next day we went over to MetLife Stadium where the Giants and Jets play, and we had to do our agility drills to pass that aspect. But we go through that every year. We had 1 sprint left, and one of my colleagues ripped his Achilles on the last one, and he's going to miss the season, but sad. Sorry to kind of ramble. a little bit, but I can picture what the questions are. What do we got?
Are the rules different, or is the gameplay different than the European NFL, or is it the same?
When the NFL Europe used to be a training ground for officials, coaches, and players. So players that were on practice squads and didn't get much playing time, this was a chance for them to evaluate talent. So they had teams in Barcelona, that was a tough assignment, Amsterdam, and 4 teams in Germany when I first started. And actually I played St. Andrews, because they had a team in Scotland one year too, but it was run by the NFL. It cost each team about $1 million a piece to run, maintain, and the owners voted it out probably about 6 or 7 years ago because that was too much money in their minds, $1 million per team.
As a mathematician, does it bother you that there are 119 male officials, 1 female official, but you are number 121?
We got, you know what, that's a great question because it's definitely relevant. When you get in the league, they give you a list of available numbers, and being a mathematician, I picked 11 squared, 121, because it was a perfect square. So that, it just kind of stuck out to me. I don't know why, but that's what, 11 squared, mathematician. Yep.
Sounds like you're working 20 hours a week, 3 hours. Does everybody work 2 jobs?
Most people do work 2 jobs. The league considers us not part-time. They call us seasonal full-time. Seasonal. So, and that's a great question because actually, once the Super Bowl ends, they cannot talk to us other than our physical until May 15th. So that's how they get around us being full-time employees. Once May 15th comes, then we go back to work, and they pay us for June and July to prepare and do. They send home tests every week in the off season, and as I told you, we had to do agility drills, and I have almost been killed a couple of times. So you try to, you do hot yoga, and you do things to try to keep your legs and be as nimble as you can with these short, stubby little legs. You know,
Know which city you're going to be in well in advance? Is that something they do at the beginning of the year? Or?
Good question. No, every Monday is like Christmas. So this past Monday, I was told that week 2 of the preseason, I have the Jaguars at the Giants. This coming Monday, I'll be told where I'm going week 3 in the preseason, and then 4, and then 1, and so on. However, it was released a couple of weeks ago. The Crews are going to London, so you can play it. If you're working Thanksgiving, and thank goodness, because I wasn't aware that there's a game this year on Christmas Eve, and a game on Christmas, the day after Christmas, which means you travel on Christmas Day. And my crew wasn't in either one of those, which I wasn't even aware. A few years back, Christmas was on a Sunday. I was in the league. They played all the games on Christmas Eve, and I think I got home about, after transportation problems, I got home about 2:30 in the morning, Christmas morning from Cincinnati, after going through, I think, Washington or something. But yeah, it's tough because they play on Sundays, and this year, what's Christmas on a Friday? So they played a Thursday night game Christmas Eve, and then somebody's going to play on Saturday, and we'll have to travel Christmas Day, and just kind of go where they tell you.
Is there any official age limit on how long it gets?
It's all based on the health and physical because of its discrimination. And I talked about Mr. Quirk, who I replaced. He lived in New Jersey. There's a little geographical thing, and I was watching him. I knew that maybe when he retired, I still had a slight chance. Well, he breaks up a fight, and he picks up a guy, and he throws him off the pile, and they fine him. So what's he do? He says, I'm going to stay 1 more year to get my money back. King stays in the college ranks. You know, and when he did retire, I did get his spot, and now his son is on my crew. But no, as long as you can pass the physical and the agilities, then you're okay. Yep.
Somebody's got to ask an air pressure question, right?
I knew it was coming. Now, and I'll explain the process.
Yeah, that's what I was looking for.
Yeah, I alluded to that. It's the younger guy on the crew. Generally, with some help, when we get to the stadium, like I said, the footballs are in our locker room. We take the footballs, one team's footballs, we dump them on the sink. Okay, you're in a locker room, so there's not a lot of room in a lot of places. So you take the balls, and it's two people that are doing it. You measure the ball. If it's between 12 and a half, 13 and a half, you stamp the ball with the referee's number, you put it back in the bag. But we never recorded it, and that's what I think they're getting at now. If it's heavy, like they say Aaron Rodgers, he likes, and most guys, I guess it depends on the size of your hand, which takes no time at all to do, and then we remeasure, get it down to between, usually if it was heavy, we'd go to 13 and a half because they wanted it heavy. I believe there's a new procedure this year where we're all going to go to, we pump them, I think we're pumping them all at 13. And then, so once we do that, we put it back in the bag. If the ball is light, we put it off to the side. And then we're going to go back with all those light ones and redo the process. We zip the bag, it stays in our locker room. But I don't know if you remember me saying, we go out 50 minutes before the game. We don't bring the balls at that point. When we go out 10 minutes before the game, our head linesman brings the balls, gives it to the official. And every referee has a stamp. You practice doing it in Europe, like I talked about NFL Europe. We used to have to scrub every single ball. And I never knew the dimples would raise. And you could, now the equipment guys do that before they come in, but by taking a brush and literally, I mean, your pants would be a mess when we did that in Europe. The dimples stick up. But so that process is pretty uniform among all crews. And Mr. Anderson, Walt Anderson, he's probably the only referee that oversees that. And I refereed the 2013 AFC Championship game when Denver beat the Patriots in Denver. I was thankful the next morning this year that the Massachusetts guy wasn't involved when there was an issue there. So they lost. They didn't play very well that day. That was the first time Tom said, Paul, can you put it on the left hash, please? I said, me? Before that first game I had a preseason game against the Giants. So I'm over on the sideline. He said, Paul, you're going to call pass interference. I said, I don't call pass interference. He said, you're going to make a name for yourself. He was kind of zinging me a little bit. My 3 kids are in the stands. Dad, what did Tom say? What did Tom Brady say? He said, he was asking how the kids were and if they were here. And so, and one of my daughters, she's 20 now. This was 7 years ago. She was 13. My other daughter was 12, and my son was, 4. And the 13-year-old says, really, Dad? And the other 2 said, you stupid Taylor. But yeah, that's another. Well, thanks for having me, and I hope I didn't keep you too long.